Well, good afternoon, folks. It's old Buster coming to you again. I'm going to tell you Merry Christmas, Happy New Year again, too. I just got to say howdy to everybody out there and tell them I appreciate you coming in to listen to the stories. Like I say, if you want the original stories, written stories, as well as all the videos, and even all the recordings without the video, I got all them I'll send to you if you just go to busterandtheboys.com. Well, the story that I'm going to read now, I've already got up my Sunday story, which is in 3 parts. What you thinking? Well, probably what you didn't see, I wrote a little ditty that went along with it about what the boys was trying to get on the right path. They live by words, two words, that's do right, and that they trying to set everything right. So that's a pretty good little story. It's in 3 parts. I know it's a little long, but we break them up if we can. Now the stories I'm reading today are stories that's only audio. And a lot of folks have told me they wished I'd go back and make them on video. So that's what I'm going to do. Now this old story is called Shiner and Tap. Now that's Big Mike Young's brothers. And Shiner, he was the next one after Big Mike, and then Tap, he's the baby brother. Now, we talk about Big Mike Young all the time. Now that boy, let me tell you, he's smarter than a whip. He didn't much like school, he's kind of like Buster, but he sure did well. That boy, I'm telling you. Now, he wasn't one of the original 4 boys, because he's raised up in North Carolina, up around Estato and Loafer's Glory, and that part of the woods, up in them mountains. But he come down there where we was at, and so he got to be one of the boys, but his pa had him doing other things too, you know, so it was kind of hard for him to always go with us boys, but he always kind of wind up somewhere with us, that's for sure. So that's about how that went. You know, we really think a lot of that old boy. Now this old story, Shiner and Tap. Well, Buster was coming up out the field from butting some levees when Big Mike Young rode up to him and asked if he'd seed his and brothers, Shiner and Tap. Now Big Mike had to climb up on a creek bank and jump off of the dang thing to even mount that there horse. He was a half Clydesdale and a half Percheron and bigger than Buster's truck. That's a big horse. Old Big Mike, he'd go up under him and over him and everything. That horse just stand right there stock still. Well, sure enough, says Buster, they's down under the bridge there at Indian Bayou. Do you know what they is doing down there? Asked Big Mike. Well, I can't be for sure, says Buster, but my guess is they's singing for minnows. That's what it looked like to me. They had what looked like your maw's flour sieve dipping it in the water. Of course, you know there ain't much water now this time of year due to pumping it out for irrigating the rice crop, beans, and cotton fields. Now, Mike says it maw'll be a mite fractious if they're using her flour sieve, and a thrashing will be a-coming from Paul, says Big Mike to them 2 boys. Well, let's just go see what them 2 boys is a-doing and what mischief they is up to, says Big Mike. Then we'll decide what to do about it. Well, after Big Mike and Buster caught up to Shiner and Tap down under the bridge, Big Mike asked what all they was a-doing. Don't they know they's in big trouble? Now, Shiner says they's trying to catch up some minnows for their paw. How's that now, says Big Mike. Well, for 2 reasons, said little Tap. First off, Paul said he couldn't find no bait for him to go fishing, and he said he needed to catch some fish for Friday's supper. Well, then a feller at the schoolhouse they went to there at Estato said them snipes love the things, them minnows. If and you use them minnows for bait, a body would catch a mess of them snipes, and they'd bring a right smart a bit of hard cash for them. Then they'd go to Mr. Beetle's store and buy some fish for their pa. Now them boys were just turned right, you know, there ain't no meanness in them. Now I can't say that for Big Mike, 'cause he's practical like and always pulling some pranks. When he's a youngin', he don't do much of that anymore being growed, but when he's a youngin', he's in a mess all the time. Now don't that beat all, says Buster. You know y'all boys done ruined your maw's flour sieve, don't you, says Buster. We didn't mean to. Didn't mean no harm, says Shiner. "We don't want no whooping, Big Mike," they said to their big brother. "Well, let's Buster and me just have a palaver. Now y'all go over and sit down yonder under that persimmon trees, but don't eat no greenings now. They'll make you pucker up better worse than alum. You hear me? Just eat them ripens." "Buster, just what in the world am I going to do about them two youngins?" says Big Mike to Buster. "They sure enough going to get the strap, and I just can't cotton to that idea. But Pa will sure have to teach them a lesson about taking their ma's belongings, though, you know." "Well, I got an idea. Them boys are just a-trying to help is all, and that's a good thing. They is so darn young, I hate to see that too, but they got to know what they done is wrong. What is their most favorite thing each of them boys has?" says Buster. "Well, Big Mike says Shiner has a puzzle book he dearly loves, and Tap has one of them erector sets he got for Christmas from Grandma Young. She sent them to him for Christmas, you know." "Well, let's just hide them and see what all they do." Big Mike said they'd probably squall. "Well, first off, we got to replace your ma's flour sieve. Well, let's sci-fi on over to Swaim's Hardware, and we can get one for your ma, and you can get back to the house to put it in the flour bin for sure before she knows it. We got to teach them a lesson, but whooping is awful harsh, I reckon," says Buster. "What about this feller over at the schoolhouse that done sent them boys snipe hunting? You know they ain't no good in that." "That ain't right, you know, and them being younger and gullible like," said Big Mike. "Something ought to be done about that." "Well, I got an idea on that too," said Buster. Well, Buster and Big Mike left on out after telling Shiner and Tap to just keep on trying to catch some minnows and not to leave till they got back. Or at least Big Mike got back. They could ride back home with him on his and horse up the mountain. Well, danged if and Walter and Hired wasn't a-coming out of old Swaim's Hardware when they rode up. Buster and Big Mike was in Buster's truck, you know. Well, Buster hollered for the boys to hold on for a minute. Buster asking if they had a few minutes for a sit-down with Big Mike. They said sure enough they did, but was a meeting Jesse over to Leak's drugstore at the soda fountain. "Well, that's just fine. We'll meet up with y'all here in a few minutes after we run into Swaim's." Well, Buster went in and asked Miss Swaim if they had a flour sifter. She said sure, several of them. Well, Buster told Big Mike to pick out the one that his and Ma was a-using. Well, he did, and Buster would pay for it. Big Mike said he sure appreciated it, but he didn't have no hard cash money right then. "Well, think nothing of it, Big Mike. You's one of us. It'll all work out." Now, Miss Swaim said it was 6 bits. Well, Buster paid her and thanked her kindly and asked her to keep this here sale to herself. She just smiled and said, "What sale?" Well, Buster and Big Mike beat feet over to Leak's drugstore there at the soda fountain and met up with the boys and discussed Big Mike's predicament. Well, first thing was for Big Mike to get on home and get that there flour sifter in the flour bin before his and Ma found out it was gone. She'd probably be making biscuits or something here for supper. Second thing was to get that puzzle book and erector set hid from Shiner and Tap. Walter said he had a little cousin that went to school over to Estatoe, and he was a pickle, you might say. He was going to get him to scunt that there bully's hay. He sure enough was a tussle for his and size, Walter's cousin was. Says if it don't scar, it don't count. Well, anyhow, let me handle that end of it, said Walter. I'll make sure the message is sent loud and clear, but nobody's going to get hurt up bad, just scunt a little bit. Next thing is to teach them young'uns a lesson they will understand, said Jesse. Well, all y'all know I don't care to get no egg baskets and the corn. So Big Mike will get them boys and come over on Saturday and gather the eggs and corn for my ma so they can replace the flour sifter. Well, after that, we get them all up, take them to the soda fountain at Leak's drugstore and tell them just what all that's all about and what they done. Then Big Mike will give them back their puzzle book and erector set and make them all happy, I reckon. Well, come on to Saturday, Jesse had the little fellers a gathering eggs and corn for his and Ma. Now, Ms. McBrayer was just plumb feeling sorry for little Shiner and Tap and give them some milk and pie and had them to rest up a bit. she told Jessie she had to go to town for a minute but would be back soon. Well, everything come off like the boys planned it, and that evening Big Mike's ma and pa sat out on the front porch with him and Shiner and Tap, and then Shiner and Tap went on to bed. They's plumb tuckered out, gathering them eggs and got corn, you know. Well, Mis' Young told Big Mike that her and Mr. Young knowed the whole story. It come from Bismarck McBrayer. Mr. Young said they really liked the way him and the boys handled the situation, and that went to show all the folks they was raised right and cared for their families. Well, one thing about it, Shiner and Tap won't never do nothing like that again, unless they talk to Big Mike first. Y'all have a good day and a blessed day. Old Buster signing out to you. That's a little story about Shiner and Tap, Big Mike's two little brothers.